Now it's time for another Board Game Brawl preview with Nick Minahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com.
Hey folks, my name is Nick, this is Board Game Brawl, and today we're going to be taking a look at a game that is currently seeking funding on Kickstarter. That game is called Sabotile, Isles of Hexote. Now, if you like what you see throughout the rest of this preview video, I'm going to encourage you to go to the official Kickstarter project page. You can follow the link up in the top corner of your screen, as well as down in the description section underneath this video. Those links will take you to the official Kickstarter page. You can find out more information than I could possibly tell you here, and hopefully you'll consider backing the project. Now, Sabotile, Isles of Hexote is a competitive game where players are trying to race to the center of this mysterious island. There are all these different tribes with a very intricate backstory described in the rules, by the way. But you're trying to get to the center of this island to get these totems. You get your spirit animal to the center of the island to get these totems, and then bring them back to your village. The problem is, every totem is keyed to a specific tribe, and this is sort of randomized at the beginning of the game, so you need to do some deductive work. You also are going to be putting down, this is, as the name implies, this is a tile placement game with sabotage. That's where the name comes from. So you are trying to not only build a path to this island and walk across it and survive what happens there, but you're also trying to inhibit the other players by putting down some nasty tiles in their way. Let me go ahead and give you a brief look at how the game is played with a prototype version of the game. So what you see in this version of the game may be significantly different than what you see in the final version. The idea here is just to give you a gist of how the game is played. Then we're going to come back. I'll give you my final thoughts.
Sabotile, Isle of Hexote is a competitive game for 2 to 6 players. The goal is to be the first player to return your spirit animal piece together with your own totem back to your own village. To do this, you'll need to place tiles in such a way to get to the central island and find your totem, while at the same time working to hinder your opponents by taking tiles from their route or placing trap tiles on their route. To set up, assemble the map made up of 6 large tiles with numerous hexes, all joined together with a central hex. On that hex are 6 totems randomly mixed up on the edge of the tile. The inside of the totem tells you which tribe it belongs to, but you can't look inside until you take it back to a village, any village. Each player takes a mat, a village tile, and a spirit animal piece of their color. You also have a set of 11 tiles. These are the same tiles available in the random stock, but you now have 1 of each. Players start the game by determining turn order, and then take turns placing 8 of their 11 tiles out on the board, anywhere they like, land side up. They can impede the other players and or focus on building a bridge to the center of the island for themselves. Also in turn order, players decide which outer space of the board to place their village and spirit animal. Finally, you begin the game. Each turn of the game has 2 phases, movement and action. To move, you roll the die to determine how many spaces you can move. You must move at least 1 space, but you don't have to take your entire move. Each land tile is split into 3 spaces, and you must move space by space. Once you end on a tile, you flip it over and activate its effect. It then gets discarded from the game and replaced. If you end in a village, you can also look at a totem. During the action phase, you have 4 options, but only 1 action is allowed. You can take a tile from anywhere on the board and add it to your hand. You can instead place a tile anywhere on the board. You can pick up a totem and place it in your piece. You can attempt to steal a totem from another player by engaging in a roll-off by rolling the die. Here are some examples of what the tiles do. For example, Ancient Vision immediately lets you open up a totem and examine it anywhere you like. Wildfire will destroy itself and potentially other tiles. This can be a devastating one to throw down in front of an opponent. Secret Passage connects to the central tile and to other secret passages, and so on and so forth. Now, if you make it to the center of the board, the central space is essentially a spot to give up tiles by sacrificing them for extra moves and more tile draws. The first player to get to their village and view the correct totem is the winner. Now, let's get to my final thoughts.
Sabotile mixes together 2 elements that many people really enjoy in board games. One of them is tile placement. That is, of course, a very popular mechanic, and the idea of putting down different tiles, moving them, adjusting them, and also utilizing them in this way as sort of a spatial element to actually move your figure, your spirit animal, across them. It's like building bridges is an interesting way to go about using tile placement. But on top of that, those actions that are associated with the different tiles really open up the game, because now there's the other part of the game, the sabotage part. It's not only that you're building this bridge and also hoping to maybe put beneficial, like at the beginning of the game when you have your own tiles, you can put some beneficial ones in your own path, hope that you draw beneficial ones as you progress down the path and replace and make use of them again. All of these different things can happen. You're trying to give yourself boosts as much as possible, or take advantage of the boosts that other players presumably put down for themselves. But of course, you don't know that. But it's not just that, it's also putting down these negative tiles like wildfire that might destroy a bunch of tiles, and putting them in the way, or the bog, and putting them in the way of the other players and keeping them from getting to their goal as much as possible. But there's a balancing act there, because how much do you try to help yourself or inhibit the other players, realizing that this is a race. This is a race to find the correct totem. It's a race to get back to your village as quickly as possible. If you spend too much time trying to mess with the other players, you might not be getting yourself ahead too much. But if you don't spend that much time, the other players may assuredly be doing that to you, unless you're just really lucky and get to where you need to go. But you can't count on that. There is strategy and depth and planning in this game that you have to take into account. It's interesting that the game uses a roll and move type mechanism, but you don't have to use your entire move, which means it's much more deterministic, especially when you take into account things like the secret passages and so on. So there's a lot of interesting things going on. The fact that you can get to the center tile and take advantage of its sacrificial ability, that you can even steal from the other players. You have a lot of options in this game, a lot of decisions, and that's important to a lot of gamers. And when you tack all of those different things together with a theme, there's actual theme to this game, a very intricate backstory that really comes to life with all of the components of the game, especially when you consider what the final version will look like. It definitely creates its own unique entity. This is a board game really not like any other that I've seen. So if any of those things that I just described strike a chord with you, or you know someone that likes those things, if you like games that are not only offering strategy and depth, but also very easy to learn, very quick to set up and to play, so that it enables people who are more casual gamers to actually jump into it without feeling overwhelmed, but still eventually able to enjoy the depth that the game has, definitely go to the Kickstarter page and find out more information about this, and hopefully consider backing it. There's going to be a link up in the top corner of your screen, as well as down in the description section underneath this video. Those will take you to the page. Thank you so much for watching. That is Sabotile, Isles of Hexote. Take care.
Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.